Greetings one and all, I'm Jason and welcome to my comic book reviews. Yep, it's another week, another bunch of reviews. We've got 12 books to get through this week. It breaks down as 5 from Marvel, 4 from DC and 3 from Image. So without further ado, let's get into those reviews. So first up this week we have from Marvel Comics The Amazing X-Men issue number 7. Jason Aaron not writing this issue, it's Catherine Immonen on writing with Paco Medina on art. And I was looking forward to this one because of the reunion of Spider-Man and his amazing friends. That was one of the cartoons that really got me into superheroes and would lead to me buying comics. So I was really looking forward to seeing them in comic book form, but also I don't really know, like, from a continuity point of view, were these three ever like a team in the comics, or did they have the friendship in the comics that they had in the TV show? Because often when they do TV shows or movies, the continuity is totally different because they haven't got the time to give all the history that you can give in a comic. So yeah, I don't know about that, but either way I was still really looking forward to this. What we get is a fun story, if somewhat shallow story. It's very much a filler issue. We start off, it has that Hawkeye quality as Firestar and Iceman, you know, just going out shopping for snacks, and they get involved in this thing with Spider-Man and an alien baby. So it does somewhat remind you of Hawkeye and how Hawkeye would just go about ordinary stuff before getting involved in some kind of caper. I really like the banter between Iceman and Firestar. I thought that was really cool. Spider-Man initially seems a bit cruel, even when like his actions are kind of explained. He still didn't seem that would be something Peter Parker would do, or at least not as carelessly. And I think, but at the beginning of the story, when we first see Spider-Man, there's the question of which Spider-Man are we meeting, and kind of his actions sort of play into that. So, you know, I'm not being too harsh on that, but I did feel, you know, even so, some of his actions weren't as good. The art in here, Paco Medina does a good job with the art. I wouldn't mind seeing him regularly on the book. Like I say, he does a good job on the art. All in all, yeah, like I say, it was a fun issue. It's not one you need to go out of your way to get, but it was a lot of fun. And I would give Amazing X-Men issue number 7 4 stars out of 5. So next up we have Batman Eternal issue number 7. This is the weekly series from DC Comics. And with each passing week, this seems to more and more lose the momentum that it built up for those first 4 issues, as all the things I really enjoyed out of them first issues has really kind of evaporated and disappeared. And we've been following different stories each week. We do actually this week continue where we left off last week, so that's one thing, I suppose. However, we don't get no Batwing or Spectre in this issue. We don't get no Robin, Harper Row or Vicky Vale in this issue. We don't get no Stephanie Brown or Jim Gordon or Batgirl in this issue. Batman takes center stage, as well as Professor Pig, who's a villain I don't know, he seemed a bit campy when we first met him, but he had that kind of sinister edge with what he was doing to the children, trying to turn them into pigs. But now he's just like, your generic kind of psychopath, and at the moment there's nothing really special about him that really stands out for me. The story itself is, yeah, it's an okay story. You know, as Gotham seems to be falling apart. There's some interesting things going on there with Commissioner Forbes, which I did like that nugget of the issue. But there were other bits that kind of confused me a bit, and maybe I need to go back and look at some of the other issues, because some of the characters that it felt like we were supposed to know who they are, but I didn't remember who they were. So maybe that's part down to me, and maybe I need to go back and reread these so I can get that bit. But all in all, though, yeah, this book I'm a bit disappointed with at the moment. After such a bright start, it's beginning to turn into a bit of a fail. So I'm hoping that over the next few weeks we get those stories that were good back in the book, and the book regains its momentum, because there's still good story there to be told, and I'm just hoping that we can get back to it. So I give Batman Eternal issue number 7 3 stars out of 5. So now we jump over to Image Comics, and we have the return of Velvet with issue number 5. Written by Ed Brubaker with art by Steve Epting. This book just remains a really gorgeous book and a really great read. It's funny how, because the books come out from Marvel so often now, that it's like when you have a book even from another company and it's gone for just a month, it seems like forever since I've read an issue of this. So yeah, it's crazy how we've gotten so used to comics coming out so quickly that now it seems such a big gap of time. This remains a really great story. Like I said, the art is just absolutely gorgeous. We find out a lot more about our main protagonist this issue and about her past, which I found really interesting. There was a little bit at the end when they're kind of... I remembered the last issue, kind of the thing was about her husband, but I can't remember the gist of the whole thing, so I think I'll probably have to go back and reread issue 4 because of that gap. But that's only a minor nitpick, and that's more down to my memory than the actual book. That is a problem when there's a gap with issues coming out, it's remembering everything. But yeah, this just remains a really great book. If you like your secret agents and your espionage, this is definitely a book to be checking out. If you're loving James Bond, this is a book to be checking out. It's set in like the best time to be setting a book like this in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Those just seem to be the classic era for these type of books. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it, really glad it's back. Always a treat, and I give Velvet issue number 5 5 stars out of 5. So we stick with Image as we come to Undertow issue number 4. This was another really good issue. I'm really enjoying this book. It's a very fun and imaginative book. Even like not just the writing but the art. It's also well put together, and it feels so unique to anything else. With this issue as well, I'm beginning to understand a lot more our main protagonist and Saga. I'm beginning to really understand his motives and what he's looking to do now. But as well as his mission and what he's doing on dry land, you've got back in the ship, you've got this whole kind of political kind of deal going on. So yeah, I just really enjoying the book. The art, like I say, and the colours, how each environment has its own kind of colour scheme is just great. It's so imaginatively written and drawn. It's a shame in many ways that it's only a mini-series, because I definitely would love to see more from this. You know, like you look at that picture there, which is like a picture within a picture. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Really great book. Very different. I'm totally enjoying it. And give it Undertow issue number 4 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Magneto issue number 4. This was the weakest issue thus far, but I really enjoyed the conclusion and the journey of the story. I really liked as well. One of the things with this book is that I often find it kind of, where do you stop being a hero, becoming a villain? Where is that line where you start becoming a defender, a liberator, and end up being a terrorist? That is something that I'm really liking about this book. It constantly asks you those questions. You know, Magneto in this is very brutal the way he deals with these people that are hunting and torturing mutants, and yet these are bad people. But you know, there's that old adage, I don't know where it comes from, but that whole saying of, in the act of hunting monsters, be careful you do not become a monster yourself. And I really, this is that kind of story. Is Magneto a monster for the things that he does to take down other monsters? So yeah, I'm really enjoying that, and I feel this whole kind of Magneto version of Magneto has kind of really come out of the X-Men First Class movie, and I'm just really enjoying this take on Magneto. He's always been one of those characters that wasn't quite 100% villain, but I'm really enjoying this look at the character. Cullen Bunn doing top work. Like I say, I'm not completely on board with the art, but the story, yeah, even this one, which is very much a filler, a very quick story, even this still manages to ask questions and resonate with you emotionally. Really enjoying the book. I give Magneto issue number 4 4 stars out of 5. So next up from DC, we continue the hunt for Robin with Batman and Frankenstein issue number 31. There's a good things and bad things about these kind of team up issues that's part of a bigger story. It has to be a very quick paced story because you've got to fit this in to fit into the overall arc. The good thing about that is you have an issue that doesn't waste a panel, that doesn't waste one line of dialogue. The story is constantly moving forward because it's got to get done. But then the downside of that is you don't get as deeply into the characters, particularly when you get an interesting character like Frankenstein. And I really enjoyed how Peter Tomasi wrote the character and would love to see more. Hopefully the way this ends, I'm hoping that Frankenstein's going to be back next issue, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I kind of gripe since the whole Two-Face thing finished was that it felt a bit too quick each story. We didn't get into the characters too much. But this issue, it was just a really great issue. Really enjoyed seeing Frankenstein team up with Batman. I love the dynamic between the two because Batman's usually the serious one, whereas in this, you know, Frankenstein's kind of like the darker character. So I like that dynamic. I like the whole overarching thing with Ra's al Ghul and trying to stop him, and how Frankenstein kind of ties into that, and how they kind of tie Frankenstein's like past story with Batman into that as well, which I really enjoyed. The last page just absolutely hooked me. We got this issue, we got Doug Mackey on art for one issue, and I thought he did a really good job. He draws Frankenstein's face a bit different than I've seen him drawn before, but overall, yeah, I enjoyed the art. I didn't have no problems with the art. You know, I thought it was laid out nicely, and yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good story. So yeah, I had no real complaints. Like I say, it is a quick story, so sometimes you don't get all of the depth that you should have. But I really enjoyed this one, and no complaints this time out. And I give Batman and Frankenstein issue number 31 5 stars out of 5. So next we jump over to Marvel Comics with X Factor issue number 8. Another really great success from Peter David. I'm just really loving how he's building this story and building all these characters. And so far, I like all the stories we've had have kind of been stories that have lasted for 2 issues. But there's this bigger story that's building in the background. And while we've had these stories that have introduced the different characters and brought the team together, we've also had this thing in the background building with Harrison Snow, the owner of this big company, Serval, is it? Yeah, Serval Industries. So I'm really enjoying what Peter David's doing here, and you know he's building this house of cards, and at some time it's gonna collapse, and then everything's gonna hit the fan. Yeah, just another really great book, and like I say, story building nicely. If I had one complaint about this book, it would be the art, because I do feel the art lets the book get down and it's not growing on me. Yeah, so I'm hoping either we get change in artist or I just get used to the art. But that's the only real gripe I've got about this at the moment. But this just remains an excellent book. So glad that I listened to the reviews for this and started picking it up again, because yeah, Peter David's doing a great job. Super excited for his Spider-Man 2099 book coming out later the year. But yeah, this just remains, like I've already said, a great fun book. Great character interactions, great twists and turns in the story, and it's building up to something nicely. And so I give All New X Factor issue number 8 5 stars out of 5. Next up we have Future's End, or as some people are calling it, the New 52, Future's End, issue number 3. I enjoyed that cover. I do really like that cover. This story I'm really enjoying. This was a book originally I wasn't going to pick up, but I'm so glad I did, because I am really enjoying how they're gradually building this story. Every week we have a different character and storyline added to the book, and I like how everything kind of be building. And it started as a book, and it's like, it doesn't wow you each week, but you can feel the story building, and you can feel it getting better issue to issue. So yeah, and I also really like how they're using lesser known characters in this book. Characters I didn't know, and they're making me care about them, making me care what happens to them. Mr. Terrific, I don't like, he's a complete dick. You've then got Grifter, who I'm really liking, he seems pretty cool. And you've then got Firestorm, who I'm really interested to see where that story is going to go. We have Lois Lane investigating, and that leads at the end of the issue to the introduction of another character into the story. So yeah, all in all, I just really enjoy this, and this is really showing Batman Eternal how it should be done, because where Batman Eternal just started out up here, and it's just kind of gone down since issue 4. Future's End just gradually keeps walking along, getting that little bit better each week, adding another element to the story, and just keeps building. And by issue 7, this is probably going to be an excellent book. Really enjoying how they're building this from week to week and making the maximum impact for the weekly story, because you can do this kind of the way they're pacing the story. You can do that on a weekly schedule. So yeah, really enjoying this so far, and I give Future's End issue number 3 4 stars out of 5. So next up, it's back over to Marvel, and we have The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 2. This one was a bit of a strange one. The story is a lot of fun, and I like the fun tone you get from a Peter Parker story. There's always a lot of comic relief with Peter. I'm enjoying seeing the fallout from the whole Superior Spider-Man, and there's been some kind of twists with that I've enjoyed. So that's really cool. The whole Electro thing I didn't quite get. I can't. Certainly in Superior Spider-Man we never saw Electro and Doc Ock, so I've got a thinking it happened in Spider-Man Team Up. But I don't really know what went on there, and while they kind of mention it, it does kind of feel like, oh, let's put the villain from the movie in the book, because it just didn't feel like it was coming from anywhere. I do, however, like what's going on with Black Cat, and that's going to be an interesting journey. I'm hoping that they're not going to keep her as a dark character, because I've always really liked Black Cat for how she is, and I hope they ain't going to change the character too much. But I don't mind, for like the sake of telling a good story, changing a short term like they do with Spider-Man, as long as we get, in the end, we get back to the Black Cat we know and love. The art, yeah, it's Ramos, and I know a lot of people don't like Ramos, but I didn't have any issues with his art in this issue. I think Electro is always an easy villain to kind of get some awesome scenes out of, and I feel they do a good job here. I really like the character of Anna Maria. I just really love her character, and I'm so glad that they've kept her in the book, and kept her as, you know, an ally of Spider-Man. I think that's really cool. So I'm really pleased about that. I think she's one of the best new characters they've introduced in this book in a long time. I really like her character. All in all, yeah, it's great having Peter back. I'm enjoying the book overall. This doesn't rock your world, but it's built, like I said, there's things happening in here that are cogs that are turning, that it's going in a good direction. Electro does feel a bit tacked in, but it's to be expected these days. They like to try and maximise on the movie coming out. But all in all, I'd give Amazing Spider-Man issue number 2 4 stars out of 5. So next up, it is for God of Thunder issue number 22, and this is my pick of the week. Bloody love this issue. This book is just back to its best in grand style. It's part 4, The Last Days of Midgard, and the story is just ramping up brilliantly. In modern day, Thor's having to deal with a villain that's kind of dealing with him in a way that he's never experienced before, and that's suing him and giving him a restraining order, which is like, Thor's used to smashing things. He's not used to dealing with these guys who hide behind lawyers. You've then got, in the future, you've got King Thor trying to save Midgard, a dying, or even a dead Midgard from old Galactus. There's some really nice twists with that tale as some people turn up to help Thor, as well as kind of the end of the issue kind of plays back to the whole God Bomb story arc, so I really like that. The art from Isid Ribic just remains epic and just gives the book a whole kind of different kind of scale and feel, If the other movie, if other comics are kind of like your movie of the week or TV movies, Thor is a summer blockbuster. That just how the difference Ribic gives to the book, and it just really gives the writing of Aaron a grander feel. I'm really enjoying this, as you can probably tell. I kind of want to show some of the art, but I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, the art, even down to characters' expressions and the way that it's coloured, I just think he's doing a great job. Is Sad Ribic. Yeah, all in all, really great stuff. My pick of the week is Thor God of Thunder, issue number 22. Next up this week, my penultimate review is Wonder Woman issue number 31. I love that cover. The face on the tree just totally reminds me of Game of Thrones, but I don't know if that's just me becoming a bit too obsessed with Game of Thrones, and I'm seeing it everywhere now. But it does remind me of Game of Thrones. The story in here is just so great. The creative team on this book just consistently dish out a great issue after great issue. We build into a eventual showdown between Wonder Woman and the Firstborn. The last time them two fought, a god had to die for Wonder Woman to be able to defeat the Firstborn. So the story's just ramping up. We get the fallout from events of the last issue. We got Wonder Woman trying to bring the Amazons into the 21st century, which isn't going well. And like I say, things are just building brilliantly to this final showdown, final collision, between Wonder Woman and the Firstborn. I'm just really loving it. The art just complements the story so brilliantly in this fantastic kind of tone. And all of this is just a joy. I would question though, if this was your first issue, I don't think you'd get as much out of it as somebody who's read all of the previous 30 issues, because the story very much does build it on itself each issue. So it's not, I would say, new reader friendly. I think, yeah, you could buy it and you would enjoy it because it's a good, well written book, but I think there'd be a lot that you wouldn't get, and I feel this is one of those books that you have to experience the whole to get the whole experience. All in all though, I'm just really loving what they're doing with the book, loving to see where we're leading to, and I give Wonder Woman issue number 31 5 stars out of 5. Final review this week is Saga. Yes, it's back. I was so pleased this book is back. Issue number 19, and it's just as great as ever. I think it's one of those books though, I think if this was your first issue, you might not enjoy it as much as if you've been following it from the beginning. It's another one of those type of books. I think the more you've read of it, the more you enjoy it. Obviously, I'm not going to say it's for everybody, but I think the general consensus is this is a great book. Again, the art by Fiona Staples is just so great. I love how much emotion she gets into her characters' faces. Whether it's a one-eyed alien or a liquid seal dude, she can get so much emotion in there. It's just amazing. You know, when I think of like how rubbish I am at art and how difficult I find just drawing, let alone getting emotion into my drawing, I'm just full of admiration for what she does. The writing as well, the characters are so great. This issue, by the end, everything that I thought was safe isn't safe anymore, and I can see that at some point this book is going to break my heart and make me cry, but I'm still going to stay on board for the ride. The first page is its usual craziness that you get from the Saga first page, and like, I don't know how they're going to top what we get this month, because that first page is just like, oh my gosh, how are we going to top that? I like in this issue that we're going to get now a little bit more about those robot people with the TV heads. It looks like we're going to get a bit deeper into them, which I'm really excited about. All in all, this just remains just this excellence that is just brilliant. And Yeah, there isn't a lot of to wow you here, but he really eases you back into the story nicely, and I enjoyed it from cover to cover. The thing with Saga, it's that one book that when I read it, the rest of the world disappears, and I'm just in this like little Saga bubble enjoying Saga. So yeah, all in all, another really great issue. Really glad to have it back. I give Saga issue number 19 5 stars out of 5. Well, we've reached the end of the video. My reviews are done for another week. Uh, First up, a bit of business. My cup, my Marvel cup my wife got me. It looks like it goes on forever, doesn't it? I like that. Anywho, we got this. There's a shop here in the UK called Primark. We got that from there. But it was Sleepy Reader's idea to kind of chill things down a bit. He suggested having a drink, having a nice beverage during filming. So here we go. Sip of Pepsi for the working man. Oh, better have a sip of Pepsi for the working woman as well. Don't want to be sexist now. Don't worry, it's just Pepsi. So yeah, so I'm trying that out, see how that works. And I've got to admit, one good thing about it, it keeps my vocal cords nice and moist. I find my throat just gets dry. I can sit and I can natter to people for hours and no dry throat. Come on here to do a video, 3 seconds in, dry throat. So yeah, hopefully that's going to keep me nice and moist and keep the whole thing chilled down. I went to see X-Men Days of Future Past yesterday. I personally really enjoyed it. The X-Men films have been a bit of a mixed bag for me. Some really good, some really bad. But I thought this was one of the better films they've done. I enjoyed it. I liked the fact that Wolverine, though I'm a big fan of the character, I was glad that he wasn't the big hero at the end that saves the day. So I really liked that. And I also really liked the after credits sequence. I got super excited for that. Yeah, I definitely geeked out when I saw that. I thought they did that very well. There were a couple of little bits of gripes, like a lot of the cast from the first class movie have kind of like been killed off without getting like an on-screen kind of death. So that I felt stank a little bit, the way they just killed off some of them characters. But other than that, yeah, I enjoyed it. As fans, we've grown up with a lot of these characters, and we love these characters like they were family to us. So, you know, when we come to doing a movie, we want them characters to have how we know them in the comics. But fortunately, that's not always going to be possible because of the story they're going to tell, because of the time restraints. They haven't got like the issues like the comics have every month to kind of tell the story. They've got like 2 hours to tell the story. So sometimes characters have to be changed. And it's, as long as they're still telling a good story and the core of the character stays true to itself, it's like we have Quicksilver. He's one of the stars of this film for me. Going into the movie, he was one of the characters I thought he looks totally stupid. I don't like what they've done to Quicksilver, but when you actually see him in the film, he's one of the coolest characters there is. They make his superpower look super cool, which I always thought super speed was a bit of a weak power, because what else could you do? But they really maximize everything, and there's a fantastic sequence with Quicksilver that was one of the highlights of the film for me. So while they changed the character in some ways, it worked, but also there are things like they do intimate that Magneto may be his father. So it kind of, you've got that in there still. So I liked that little wrinkle was there, that fans I think would pick up on it. I think people just watching the film wouldn't, but the fans would wink and say, yeah, we know where you're coming from. So I liked that a lot. I thought that was really cool how they worked that in. And so yeah, they changed some things, but they give the little kind of winks the other. The other big thing I've been hearing people complaining about is the continuity of the films and how does that work out. Going into the films, I kind of looked at it as like X-Men First Class happens first in like continuity. Then you have X-Men Origins Wolverine. Then you have X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men 3, The Wolverine, and then X-Men Days of Future Past is next. That's the way I would view the films. And, you know, they establish early on in X-Men Days of Future Past that, you know, if you travel back, you can travel back in time, change the past. The people in the present won't know you've changed it. It'll just be to them like it's always been that way, where they won't know. So they established that kind of early in the movie. So I think now at the end of this movie, some of the things that happened in the first films didn't happen now, or happened in a different way. But from their perspective, from where they are but for us, if you're watching the films in chronological order, they still have kind of like what they did with Star Trek and with Captain Kirk, and that the original series still happened. It was just a different continuity, a different kind of timeline, if you will. So yeah, that's how I looked at the kind of news. But I think I've rambled on long enough now. Maybe I should have just done a separate review video for X-Men Days of Future Past. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the film. Anywho, thank you very much for watching my video. Really appreciate everyone takes the time to watch and to comment. Really appreciate that. If you like the video, please give me those thumbs up. Let me know you like what I'm doing. As always, thank you very much for watching my videos. The plan at the moment, hopefully, fingers crossed, I should be able to do a haul video Wednesday. If not, then I will be back next weekend, definitely, with another review video. So all that leaves me to say is I've been Jason. This have been my comic book reviews. Bye for now.